Clash Royale has a few dominant faces now in the ESL Mobile Open leaderboard, and surprisingly, Lethal, the leaderboard hasn't actually had many changes though from last week, which is quite surprising. So we'll have a quick look at the leaderboard shortly, but before that, I've got to talk about last week. We had a bit of an MVP moment because DERPLIGHT, who we're going to see some of his gameplay from this week as well, got one of the quickest triple crowns I've ever seen at this level, because he just dominated with a Lava Hound followed by Inferno Dragon and just kept sending in waves and waves of air attacking troops and just dominated. So it's great to see some players really taking the initiative to just go all out offensive, because that's what makes it exciting for us to talk about, right?
Well, you know, I love a bit of aggression, you know, just like any other person, and I'm exactly the same as you in terms of I like that kind of style of play, you know, trying to force out the first mistake rather than wait for the first mistake to happen. And I'm interested to see the decks and, you know, how things have changed over the last couple of weeks in terms of the meta. But we are going to look now and see, and it looks like Shadow is still up, the Romanian powerhouse still in second place, but Luke is still doing damage here.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas still, it kind of looks like he's leagues ahead, really, but everything can change in quite quick succession depending on who you spin against, really. Game Freak TV still having a bit of a shaky time down there in 6th position. He's currently, I think, 11-7, if I'm correct in saying. I will quickly check that right now. Yes, he is indeed 11-7 right now. And I mean, going from a 16-0 in the first ladder, I mean, you've got to think, has he set his own bar maybe slightly too high?
It's very difficult to say. That's actually shocking, to say the least. The fact that you've got that many wins undefeated and then dropping straight down, it depends who he's been playing against as well over the last few weeks in terms of, like, you know, what matches. Maybe he's played against some of the top players now, and it's just dropping him further and further back due to the fact that he wants to try and improve himself as a player, knowing that he can get better, but he's actually losing the matches as it's happened. So it's a little bit of a shame, but like I mentioned before, as long as you hit that top 8, then that's all that matters.
Exactly. Speaking of top 8, slithering in there is David Rooney, who is a frequenter of our first ladder matches, and he managed to come in to the top 8 with just 2 matches so far. He's only played 2, but both high point wins, because he played against DERPLIGHT, who's currently in 4th, and so he's just racking up those points nice and easy. Quality over quantity, Lethal, as we go into our first match, who consequently is DERPLIGHT versus Veneficous. Let's see if DERPLIGHT can do it again, coming in with an Inferno Dragon, Skelly Dragons, Minor, Elite Barbs, and a Fireball for DERPLIGHT. Lots of air attacks once again, Lethal.
I love that, goes in straight with the Minor straight away. Interested to see what he's going to do next with that Baby Dragon and the E-Giant later on. Just both of them, you know, leaking the elixir here, just chilling, just being very, very patient to find out who's going to do what and where. Both players looking to counter each other, but look at it, the E-Giant does come out, does take a lot of HP in order to try and take him down in terms of hit points, so we'll have to see how he's going to counter that.
Interesting fight DERPLIGHT right now. He split the Skelly Dragons to see which side of Veneficous is going to defend against. Look at the Elite Barbs, absolutely decimating that right side tower. Bosh, there's your first crown. Skelly Dragons and the Elite Barbs make a push also for that King turret. Now it's activated. It's going to be a little bit difficult for the damage, but now take your eyes to the bottom left of your screen. The E-Giant and the Dark Prince are hammering down on DERPLIGHT. This is looking to be a quick one again, Lethal.
Yeah, there was nothing he could have done. With the Dark Prince behind that E-Giant as well, there was nothing he could have done. He didn't have enough DPS to try and even delay that in the slightest, and even still pushing towards that King Tower, still doing a little bit of damage, not a huge amount, but still been a massive pain in the backside here, and still struggling to take it down. Finally, after another 10-20 seconds, has been taken down, but the King Tower's already down to 2,418 now in terms of HP, and looking to take this left tower out as well.
I mean, the E-Giant, it costs a lot, but damn does it pack a punch. Not only is it so good for tanking for other troops like the Dark Prince, as we saw, but also it deals a lot of damage. It's not like if you use a Golem, you have that slow roll, but the Golem doesn't deal out a huge amount of damage. But look at this, the Skelly Dragon gets a few shots off on that left side tower of Veneficous, and we're down to 1-3-1-7. So damage in favor of DERPLIGHT right now. Veneficous is going to need to pull something out of the bag, possibly another E-Giant followed by a Dark Prince. That seems like it's going to be his meta for this war.
Yeah, he's been doing that since the very beginning. You're absolutely right with the Baby Dragon coming out, and like you mentioned, the E-Giant has decided to make another play and is going to be consistently doing that, like you've already mentioned. And the Skarmy still in DERPLIGHT's back pocket and the Minor, so it depends when he's going to use that as well. Just buying his time, just focusing on that left tower, which is perfectly understandable, only on 1,317 HP. But will he be able to do that as the troops are all barging through? But look at this, the E-Giant's already taken so much damage over the halfway mark, pushing towards that King Tower. And is it going to be enough?
DERPLIGHT's definitely caught on to the fact that Veneficous is trying to do this E-Giant along with the Dark Prince push. So he's trying to get them down as much as possible before they make their way to that King turret. It's done a really good job of that. And now it is time for DERPLIGHT to go on the offensive. But E-Giant gets dropped again. Can the Elite Barbs take it down before it makes it to the King turret?
You see it there as well, even the Dark Prince is just trying to get there as quick as possible, as they both did not go together, looking to take that left tower if they can. Still have a little bit of time now, as we're going to go into sudden death, still a couple minutes added in order to try and take out another one of these towers if possible. But looking a lot better from DERPLIGHT, still got the DPS there just to be a bit of a nuisance, be a bit of a pain. But you see there as well, Veneficous just can't really defend it in the slightest, as the Skami comes in again to try and finish things off. Will it be able to though, and be able to do enough damage onto that left tower? It actually does, and DERPLIGHT takes that game. Nicely done. He was delaying that Skami for such a long time, and eventually actually managed to use the chance to, finish that left tower out. Brilliant stuff.
DERPLIGHT definitely doesn't like to be on the back foot, does he? Loves to just constantly push out, be on the offensive, and he hates being on that back foot. That's why that E-Giant and Dark Prince was really getting his back up, but came out the winner, and here we go. This is map 2. So DERPLIGHT, if he wins this one, that's it. He's won the war against Veneficous. So here we go. DERPLIGHT coming in with Minor, Elite Barbs, Ice Golem, Mortar, and Spear Goblins. Veneficous with the Fireball, Elite Barbs, Mortar, Log, and Minor. So we got both predominantly ground attacks. We typically don't see this from DERPLIGHT, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and if he's as good on the ground as he is in the air.
Very similar decks, probably the exact same. It could be a mirror matchup here, as we're going to see exactly what is going to be used next. So a couple units have been dropped down just to take out that right tower, but not before those Elite Barbs coming from the right side. But how is this going to be counted as the Log comes in? It's going to be E-Barbs versus E-Barbs. Anyway, the Ice Golem could be his next choice, which it will be, just to try and push on through on that right side. So only a tickle of damage here from both sides, both from those right towers here, as the Minor could be used on the upper side, but it also uses the Ice Golem of his own, which is understandable to say the least. And not really too much here, just quite, I would say, a little bit patient in terms of what we want to do, just trying to feel each other out with the mortars as well.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do if you're faced against an opponent that's like tactically just as good, but has exactly the same deck as you? Are you waiting for that critical error like you've mentioned before? Or do we just go, oh, no holds barred, straight in, don't worry about the defense, let's just absolutely start ticking away the damage, like using these miners in an ideal situation like that? But I think it comes down to spells and spell usage right now, Lethal.
Yeah, absolutely. And also using the DPS from the towers as well, just so that at least you can take their units down first, and then you can retaliate with something even more powerful as your army accumulates over a certain period of time. But still, very, very slow. Both players using that Ice Golem. The Musketeer could have come out on the side of Veneficous. But what can he do here? At least with the range of the Musketeer, can keep the Ice Golem back. Both of them still using that Mortar, just going back and forth. And, not really too much to say here is the fact that it's just a very patient game, as those Spear Golems have been taken down. So the Goblins, and now they're going to be pushing up from the south side again with the E-Barbs and see what they can do here. So, yeah, very similar pushes, very similar techniques on what they want to do, but they both have the same idea as well. It's just better of who's going to be more aggressive and who's going to make the first mistake.
Yeah, who's going to chip away that damage? As you notice that DERPLIGHT's right side tower gets attacked by the Minor, the Log, and also the Fireball. So he's pretty much doing exactly the same. Dropping the DERPLIGHT is throwing the Log at that right side tower of Veneficous and just basically trying to get anything. A chip away from the Minor as well. Ice Golem pushing on this left side is going to get taken down before it can make it. And the Mortar just on defense. It literally is just a little bit of back and forth. 20 seconds left on the timer. It's going to drop down. Is it going to be Is it going to go out to a tiebreaker and it's going to be based on damage, or are we going to be able to get one of them down? I think it is down to the spells like we've mentioned at the beginning of this war.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise here. As you can see now, the Spear Goblins have been taken down. The E-Barbs are going to now push up. The Mortar is still finally going to get taken down. It's been there for such a long time, and, definitely worth its weight in gold and the value it's really brought to the table. Takes down the Musketeer as well before it get finished off. The Ice Golem still going on that right side. But you can see again, the Spear Goblins are going to try and delay the inevitable if they can. They shouldn't really have too much of a problem here. Yes, it does, but it does have a Ice Golem of its own. They're going to push up on that Mortar. It brings up its own Mortar as well. And this is a time for DERPLIGHT to do extra damage and maybe even take out that right tower here, Banks, as he's almost bound to finish things up. Not quite as of yet, trying to do a little bit more with the Minor, but sadly just does not happen. And let's see the response now for Veneficous.
It's just log and fireball. Let's go. Using the log quite well as defense, but then more importantly on offense right now. Dropping it just before the bridge is essential because you're just getting off that 100, maybe a bit more. 15 down. There we go. DERPLIGHT manages to take the win there, but very back and forth as you would have expected as they've got the identical decks. So they're literally just defending against their own deck essentially. But good use of the log there, good use of the miner as well, and the fireball, and essentially that's what it comes down to. You're just going to have to use your spells to identify what you can do to outwit your opponent, and ultimately DERPLIGHT came away with the win, but Veneficous was extremely good right until the very end.
See, that's the thing with the logs as well. It's just to try and delay the inevitable as much as you can before they come in, and then you can use that elixir to get some better troops and just be a little bit more patient. And yeah, in terms of a mirror matchup, it was so back and forth, both doing almost equal damage. Both had the right idea in terms of when to use the miner, when to maybe get a feel for what spells they've used, and like maybe try and take advantage of the towers and then try and do as much damage as possible. But DERPLIGHT did that perfectly, did that really well on that right tower every single time. And I think the timings of his units and how good his defending was just next to none.
Well, not only did Veneficous go up against DERPLIGHT in fourth, he also went up against Lucas GSM, who is currently our leader. So you would think it's quite a tough one. We're kicking things off. Lucas is already 1 up in the series, all right? So this is basically Veneficous needs to win this to tie it up, and then we'll go into the third game. Or Lucas can close this out right here, right now. Veneficous coming in with the Miner, Elite Barbs, Fireball, Skeleton Army, the Skarmy with the Inferno Dragon for the tanking. And then Lucas has a Golem with the Skarmy, Arrows, Baby Drag, and the Clone Spell. So 2 slightly different decks. So we're going to see how they use them. But the Elite Barbs, straight up 877 damage remaining on Lucas's right side tower. Very, very aggressive start by Veneficous.
Oh, you saw there as well that he didn't really want to use the arrows so early on that Skarmy, but he had to, considering how close it was towards that tower, and already taken so much damage. So the leader of Clash Royale so far still taking a heavy amount of damage, but he's trying to retaliate with his own and just couldn't really do much. But in his back pocket, instead, has still got another Skarmy, got a Baby Dragon as well. He wants to make matters worse for the side of Veneficous. It is a Veneficous day, as you may have noticed already. Brings down his own Skarmy, but will he be able to retaliate? He hasn't got the arrows, but he's got a Skarmy of his own to fight back if need be.
Miner chipping away on that right side tower as the Skarmy come in. This is going to be the first drop for Veneficous. So 1 minute and 43 seconds for Lucas to retaliate and try and get one of his own. There is barely anything touched on Veneficous, either of his towers. So really impressive that he's managed to get one of Lucas's towers down so early. But something that we've mentioned before, haven't we, Lethal, is that using the Lumberjack from Lucas, you would typically try and send in the Lumberjack with another troop like a Valk or something, just so that when he drops the rage, they can get loads and loads of DPS boost from that rage spell. But it just seems he's not sending it with anything. There's probably a tactic involved there that I'm not really noticing. Great use of the Baby Dragon there for the splash damage by Veneficous.
No, you're right. I think it is a little bit strange here, but we're going to see what happens now, as it's going to be the final minute on the clock before it's sudden death already. Lucas down at 1 tower. The Skarmy comes in for Veneficous, but still doing a little bit of work. He's still to push on through. The bats come out to try and clean up any of the Skarmy actually going through. But look at this though, still so much damage on that left tower as well. Veneficous is absolutely going in full aggro, not before finally Lucas does defend it, but he's going to have a little bit of trouble defending this next matchup coming up with all those troops.
Veneficous has definitely taken a leaf out of DERPLIGHT's book by bringing in a dragon army that is decimating Lucas's towers. Getting a few pot shots off using the Baby Dragon on that right side Veneficous tower by Lucas, but it's just not enough. A Miner just going straight up to the face of that tire and slapping it on the face with his spade or shovel, whichever way you prefer it. Elite Barbs taking out the Skelly army as well.
Do you know what? I never actually noticed that. I'm going to have a little bit of a look now just to make sure it was a spade or a shovel. But good stuff from Veneficous there. Lucas is, the top dog at the moment in Clash Royale on the leaderboard. He's been looking very, very solid. It just shows that, some people do bleed here in this leaderboard. It's a little bit of a tough one. There is dents in the armor which has been made. Will there be any more cracks? We'll have to see. So Veneficous looking very good here.
We've also only got one, I think it's only one that we have who is undefeated right now, which is Jenk Aslan on the leaderboard right now, who's 6-0. Everyone else has a loss on their books. So 18-5 currently, Lucas, but this is the third and final round of their war together. Here we go. Who can close it out? It is currently 1-1. We have Lucas coming in with the log, the skellies, Heal Spirit, Tesla, Tornado. So we get another cheeky spell count there. And we've got Veneficous with the Valkyrie, the Princess, Inferno Tower, Goblin Barrel, and the Log. So yes, two very slightly different decks. Very different decks, sorry, once again.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. You know, the Goblin Barrel did come out straight away, but he counted that, so that was very anticlimactic, but that's very, very common in this kind of meta. But the E-Giant will start us off to try and push on through. Sadly, if he used that Skarmy a little bit later for the E-Giant, it would have been a little bit different in terms of story and what he could have done here, but it's still playing this very, very patient, just trying to defend from this E-Giant. He knows how much damage it's going to do afterwards once it gets even close. So he's using that Log just to delay the inevitable just a little bit here, just to delay as much as possible so he can get some more units out to contest this, but it has actually been able to, so good job from him, but now he's got a little bit more to deal with and now he needs to go on the aggression for himself.
So defensively against the E-Giant, Veneficous basically has the Valk and the Princess. That's basically his main source of defense. And then obviously the Inferno Tower when he feels necessary, when he feels it's most necessary to use it. Because remember, the Inferno Tower only has 30 seconds of life. And the Tesla that Lucas is using has 35 seconds, but obviously deals out a lot less damage. So utilizing the time as well as, you know, the position of where you place that defensive structure is so crucial in a map like this.
Even with the range of the Inferno Tower, the fact that it goes from 35 to 704. So if you actually, you know, try and attract that E-Giant towards you, it's just going to get taken down so quick. And we're going to see if it actually does happen, because now he's got a little bit of defense as you push him through. But speaking of the devil, there's the Inferno Tower. You can see he's going to do a little bit, but when it comes into range, my goodness, Banks is literally going straight down and gets taken down instantly. That Inferno Tower is worth its weight in gold once again. The Goblin Barrel comes out, but does have to counter for it to make sure it doesn't do too much damage on that left tower.
Yeah, Lucas is great on defense, I must say. His defensive strategy is using the Log every single time. He's always got something in his back pocket to fend off Veneficous attacks. But, I mean, like we said, Lucas, however, is slightly down 1460 on that left side tower, and he hasn't really put anything on Veneficous. That left side tower is slightly down by about 500, but that Inferno Tower is just rocking that E-Giant every time. The Eye of Sauron beating down on those little miniatures. But that Valkyrie is going to potentially go up and create some damage. No, he needs the Valk to push up a little bit more Veneficous if he's going to get a lot of damage down, because the Valk deals it out so much.
The E-Giant does come out once again. Let's see what he's going to do and see who's going to join him as he's going to push on towards that left side. The Goblin Barrel does come out again, still has the counter very, very well organized and well prepared. He's expecting that every single time. Has the Inferno Tower ready for the Giant to see if he will try and attract the attention here, which he does. So now it's going to do so much damage. Like we said before, the closer you are to the Inferno Tower, the more damage it's going to do, because it is based on range. But another Giant does come out here, Banks.
It's like he's using one E-Giant to bait out the Inferno Tower. Then when it goes down, the second E-Giant comes through and deals out the damage. Here we go. There you go. There's the damage dealt, plus an Earthquake spell. Here comes the spells, because you feel like they're not really getting as much value out of each of their attacks. You know, the cards that they're using just aren't quite making it to the tower. So I think here come the spells. We got the Log being dished out by Veneficous. Lucas is using his Log on defense mostly, and the Earthquake spell is his attacking spell right now. Using the Tornado, Lucas, to basically bring in that Princess so that the Firecracker can get it down. And here comes the Valk from Veneficous on the left side.
You can see there's only a minute left of sudden death. He knows that he's not going to win this based on damage. Has to take down that left tower if he can, because there's no way he'll be able to come back from this. It's going to be a little bit too late, but you never know. 50 seconds left to play at the moment. 523 damage is to be taken on that left tower. I'm pretty sure that Lucas is looking to take it down rather than play for damage on sudden death because of what I mentioned before. The Skarmy comes in for Veneficous, but all been cleaned up quite nicely from Lucas. And you can see what he's going to do now. He's going to try and push on that left side, Banks.
I mean, it's just Quake versus Log right now. 127 on that left side of Veneficous Tower. It's literally the Quake comes in again. 8. Oh, straight down. Lucas takes the win. I mean, if all else fails, you have to turn to your spells, because ultimately they were just meeting in the middle every single time, both going on the defensive, both being, well, extremely strong in defense as well, like we've already mentioned earlier about Lucas, but Veneficous as well. So it came down to the Quake spells. Can you end up getting the Quake spell on the Inferno Tower as well? But, I mean, incredible. And a great level of adaptation from Lucas as well in those final wars. So don't forget, you can sign up to the ESL Mobile Open if you want to play against these guys that you've just seen. Just put ! sign up in the chat, follow all the instructions, and you could go up against some of the best in the business. And go for the glory and the prize pool at the end. Let's not forget that. Brawl Stars ladder has been jam-packed with action over this past week, so don't go anywhere, and we'll see you after the break. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the ESL Mobile Open weekly recap for Europe, Middle East and North Africa. We really appreciate all of your support. So if you could just smash that subscribe button down below, it'll keep you up to date with everything going on week in, week out on the ESL Mobile Open.